Hi everyone! I've had a lot of questions lately on how my cantaloupe and watermelon are doing. If you recall, about 4 weeks or so ago, I did a video on how to grow them both vertically, both in a garden bed and in a container. Well, they are growing like crazy. I've got my cantaloupe and watermelon behind me here in this 15-gallon smart pots. So I thought I would do a little update video today and share with you how I'm caring for them, tying them up, as well as some tips on hand pollinating, and hopefully Mac will stick around and help me out. If you don't have a lot of space or are just growing on a deck or a balcony, you can still grow watermelon and cantaloupe in the nice warm summertime. The key is to put them in a container and to grow them vertically so that you can save space. Now I'm growing it here, like I mentioned, in 15-gallon smart pots. I've grown in smart pots for years and I really do enjoy growing in them because the roots don't get root bound like they do in a plastic container. So that's what really helps me to be able to grow a large plant like a cantaloupe and a watermelon in a small space. And I've got them growing here on 2 tomato cages. The top one I inverted, cut the little tongs off at the top, and then to connect them together with twist ties. So grow them vertically, grow them in a container, save yourself some space. And go back and watch the first video on how I got these containers set up. Now you can see here that it is a trailing and vining plant, and I've been tying it up to the trellis as it grows with this stretchy tie tape. So you do need to stay on top of this so it doesn't get too unmanageable. So as the vines grow, all you have to do is come out here and just feed it up through the wires and then attach it. I do have a couple that are trailing here on the ground, so let me just tie those up real quick and show you how that's done. And besides saving yourself a lot of space by growing vertically, it's also a lot healthier for the plant because it keeps the leaves up off the ground, keeps away from critters, away from pests. And one of the most important things is it gives a lot of airflow to the plant, which helps it not have disease. So here I'm just weaving the vine up through the cage here. And I love this stretchy tie tape. I know a lot of you guys use this and it's really great because you don't need scissors. And a lot of times I just carry this around in my pocket in the garden. That way I can tie up plants whenever I see there's a need for. So I'm just very carefully feeding the vine up here through the cage. And you can see it has these little tendrils here, which eventually will grab onto the cage on its own, but sometimes it just needs a little bit of help to direct it to where you want it to grow. And then I just take the stretchy tie tape and just very carefully tie it on. You don't want to tie it too tight because you don't want to restrict the plant's growth or anything like that. So just tie it on here. And then you do want to make sure you're checking your plant every couple of days to tie up any growing vines. So in a few more days, this may grow a little bit taller and I may be able to tie it on over here to that support or a little bit higher to the next level of the cage here. The other thing you want to make sure that you're checking on your watermelon at this point in the growing season is for pests and disease, and then prune off any leaves that might have a problem. And here I just noticed some leaf miners. Now, a lot of you have mentioned you've been struggling with leaf miners too. Let me just show you what they are. See these little tracks in the leaves right here? These pests mine or burrow into the leaves, and they get inside there and they're very hard to get rid of. I always like to prune the diseased leaves that have spots, powdery mildew, or bug damage, just so it doesn't spread to the rest of the plant. And I've been spraying this plant every 2 weeks or so with the neem, peppermint, rosemary oil combination we talked about in last week's video on organic pest control, just to keep the bugs away and to prevent any problems before they happen. And so far it's working pretty good. One of the keys to growing melons in a container is to, number one, grow them in a nice sunny spot. Now it's kind of a cloudy day today, but this is typically in full sun throughout the day. And I'll show you just a minute the plants I have growing in my garden bed that aren't in full sun, and you'll see the difference in the growth. But you also want to choose more compact varieties. And these are all in my melon seed collection and go from seed to harvest in just a couple of months. So if you have 2 or 3 months left in your growing season, you can still get some planted. Down here is the Sugar Baby, which is one of my favorite, more personal sized varieties of watermelon. And I've got a little teeny tiny Sugar Baby coming on right there. So it's gonna be really fun to watch that grow. I'll come back and do another video when it's ready to support, because it will need some support on this trellis. And underneath here, I actually just saw this yesterday, is my very first cantaloupe that is actually growing to size. So I'm really excited to watch that grow. It's gonna be so much fun. There's nothing more fresh and tasty on a hot summer day than some nice cold watermelon. The bees have been buzzing around here like crazy, and there's tons of little teeny tiny cantaloupe. Got one here, got one here, and Oh my goodness, they are just all over the place and lots of flowers. But if you are short on the bees in your garden, you don't see a lot buzzing around, you're gonna wanna hand pollinate. Now, it's pretty easy to do, so let me just give you a couple tips on that. Well, you want to do your hand pollinating in the morning because that's when more of the flowers are open. And to hand pollinate, you need both a male flower and a female flower. So the male flowers are just a flower with just a little stem attached here. The female flowers, though, actually have a little fruit attached. So let me show you what I mean here. Here is a flower and a little baby cantaloupe attached to it. So what you need to do to hand pollinate is just pick the male flower. Then you want to find a female flower that is open. This plant has lots and lots of female flowers that aren't open. For example, this one. So obviously that flower can't be pollinated. So we'll go back to our female flower that had the fruit attached with the open flower. And what we're going to do is take our male flower, kind of peel back the flowers a little bit, the stems a little bit. In fact, I'm going to totally take them off here. And then we're just going to rub the inside of that male flower on the inside of the female flower so you can transfer some of the pollen. And if that little tiny immature fruit starts to grow after a couple of days, you'll know that your pollination has been successful, and you may want to come out and do that a couple of times just so you get good pollination and good fruit set. The bees aren't quite as active today because it's a cloudy day, but typically on a sunny day, this plant is buzzing with bees. So hopefully I don't have to hand pollinate too much, but it is really fun to try and just experiment, see what kind of results you get. You can also try hand pollinating on your squash plants and on your cucumber plants if you're not seeing a lot of fruit set with those. Now at the same time I planted these in this container, we also planted some on the hill right behind me here. And you can see they're not growing near as quickly because they're shaded out by a really big magnolia tree. We have been trimming that out to help eliminate some of the shade. But you can tell the spot where you plant your vegetables and your fruits really does make a difference. Full sun makes a huge difference. But you know what? That's okay, because that way I'll have watermelon and cantaloupe to harvest at different times. Well, comment below, let me know what you learned from the video, if you enjoyed this quick little update of my cantaloupe and watermelon. And if you want to grow melon, head over to my website, CaliKimGardenandHome.com, grab a melon seed collection, plant some sugar babies. Those are one of my favorite kinds, and I love to grow and harvest them together. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.